me turn that up a little bit. What's going on, everybody? Sorry, working on getting this shared out to a few different groups. If you're joining me already, I see you got a couple folks. You guys make sure you hit that share button real quick and go ahead and start hopping in them comments. I'm going to catch up on them here in a minute. So don't hesitate to jump in the comments here. And let's see, let me roll this down. But welcome to the Natural State Sports Live Fan Reaction Show, presented by Harris Made Chef Services. I want to thank James Harris over at Harris Made Chef Services for bringing this show to us each and every week after a Razorback game, win or lose. So, hey, here we are. We are. Let me get this worked in real quick. So, the joys of trying to get these lives going. And so, but you guys, do me a favor, hit that share button before we get going here, and we'll get some Razorback talk going. Started a couple minutes early, got some family things to, got the kids and all that good stuff to handle tonight. So, the wife is doing the job right now, and I'm gonna go help her out when we're done here. So, a little early, be a quick-ish show, but let me get this finished up. And then we will get rocking and rolling. But again, we appreciate everybody joining me again for the Harris Made Chef Services Live Fan Reaction Show. So this is your show, man. Y'all get your reactions out there. Let me know what you thought about the game. And undo that. Let's see. And yeah, really appreciate it. So, man, if you guys listened to us last week, either whether it was Andy and I on the reaction pod or Tyler and I on the preview pod on Thursday or on Friday or Saturday before the game, optimism's been at an all-time high for Razorback fans. I may have upset a few folks last week on the pod talking about that Razorback fans might be a little overconfident heading into this week. I know this A&M game is big. I know this is a game that everybody wants to win. We're tired of losing this game to Texas A&M. But I'm going to tell you, Texas A&M coming into this game, I picked Arkansas. I went with the overconfidence, and the number one thing to me was in this game was going to be the physicality of both teams. Look, A&M's the second best team Arkansas's played this year, and outside of Alabama, they're probably the best team Arkansas has left. I'm not taking anything away from Florida. I think Florida's a really good squad. They started slow against Missouri this weekend after being out for COVID, so obviously that's probably part of it in that scenario. But again, I'm just I'm a big fan of what A&M is doing this year, and I think I've been kind of outspoken about them, and I know they struggled early, and they seem to struggle with Vanderbilt, but they beat a good Florida team. So definitely, let me change a couple more things here. Make sure I'm not missing out on any comments. So you guys get your comments in there. I don't want this to be a commentless show. We've had a lot of fun the last few weeks. No video to play tonight, so I apologize. I hate that we don't have anything to break down tonight, and that's on me for not having that ready. But guys, really appreciate everyone joining us here as we're getting a few more people popping on. So, again, I know I said 7:30, so I'm going to let some folks start slowly jumping in here. But, again, I'm not surprised by the outcome of this game. I'm not surprised at how the game ended up going. Arkansas loses by 11. I think they opened the week last week as a 15-point dog, and Razorback fans across the world were throwing down on social media, very upset about the fact that Arkansas opened as a 15-point underdog in this game. And I said initially, at 15, this should get bet down to around 11 or 12. I think that's where most of the bigger books came out with it. And yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised. Arkansas loses by 11. I picked Arkansas to win, I think by 10. So it goes the complete opposite way. I was semi-close on the score. I had Arkansas scoring 34. So I just thought the defense would show up a little better. The defense has really carried this team. We finally get the offense rolling, over 450 yards of offense, 461 to be exact, 239 yards passing. I thought Felipe Franks looked really good this week. He had some moments. I think there's still some things they've got to get cleaned up with him. He holds on to the ball a little too long in certain situations. I find myself screaming at the TV a whole lot, begging him to throw the football, and he hasn't been doing it. So, but that doesn't happen every time. It just seems to happen a little bit too often, and that's been one frustration that I had, especially this weekend. But other than that, I mean, I think this is going to be that week where we're going to be able to have some things to say about this defense. And I think number one for me, and this was a conversation that came up in some of our in some of the group chats that I'm in with a few different folks, was Barry Odom didn't seem to make any adjustments, and I don't know. So, full disclosure, I was obviously Halloween. We were out with the kids, so I paused the game, got back, and I mean, I was able to shut my phone off, avoid all social media, avoid any updates, other than my good buddy Matt deciding to tell me that it was 7-14, but he didn't tell me a score. So I mean, yeah, I'm kind of, the game it was tough to really get into the game for me, as big as this game was, obviously with Halloween, but so I guess my frustration and where I got a little perturbed with this game and really the game plan by Odom was we seemed to leave the middle of the field wide open. We knew A&M wanted to run the ball. That's exactly what A&M wants to do. A&M wants to run the football. A&M wants to push the football down the field, or they want to control the clock. This isn't this isn't a team that wants to go real quick, and we've become accustomed to, especially the years of Johnny Manziel and a few other years where this game is 50-something to 45, and A&M's coming back late, and this game early on really had the feel of a nice close football game. So and I think if you listen to our preview pod with Tyler and I on Friday, one thing that I was really concerned with, and it was kind of my number one key to this game, was the physicality. A&M was going to bring the most physical presence I think Arkansas has seen, and I don't think we failed the test. A&M ends up running for 182 yards. That's really not bad. They did get 5.1 yards per rush. The other thing that I said initially was that, I thought the key to the game was to stop their rushing attack and force Kellen Mond to beat us, and unfortunately he did. Tyler Callahan jumping in on the comments here. We have zero depth on our secondary and couldn't get any pressure on the quarterback. Zones kept breaking down. Even if you disguise a zone, if you can't get pressure, it'll eventually break down. And that's a great point. I mean, and that's a fantastic comment by Tyler. When you watch the defense, we've been so impressed with the secondary and how well they've seemed to play and gel. Obviously, the loss of Jerry Jacobs, I don't know. I know the rumors. I know some things that have come out. I feel pretty confident in some of the things I've heard. And so, yeah, I mean, when you watch, losing Jerry Jacobs was big. He was actually kind of starting to play okay, but he's depth, and that's a big piece. Hudson Clark, for all the accolades he's got, and I don't know if this was by plan, by design, but Hudson Clark seemed to just stay 12, 15 yards off the ball all day, and so everything was open in front of him. TJ Jablonski says losing Catalon didn't help. You're right. I mean, losing Catalon was huge. That's my favorite player on this team. I've been, excited about seeing this guy for a while, and yeah, that's really, really frustrating. I was a little. When I saw the play initially, I was watching it by myself at that point, and I was like, oh boy, if Catalon's not careful, and if I'd have been in the group chat and not had my phone shut down, I would have. My initial thought right off the bat was boy, Catalon better be careful. He's going to get a targeting call in this game. And then they reviewed it, and I mean, it was definitely 100% was targeting. It was the right call. It was an unfortunate situation, and so that was disappointing. And so, yeah, I mean, that losing Catalon was big, but I don't think that was the key. I mean, yeah, he brings a really physical presence, and that was a big key to the game for me was Arkansas matching A&M's their physicality, and I thought we did okay with that, but losing Catalon definitely hurt that, and it obviously hurt the depth. Chad Bishop asked, why is Knox not playing? Knox played. I mean, he was out there. He had a couple of targets. I don't know if I've got that number right here in front of me. Knox just doesn't have it right now, man. I don't know what's going on with him. I don't know why Knox has fallen off. He can't get separation. He's not a burner. And realistically, he doesn't fit a lot of what Arkansas needs on the field right now because you've already got a guy like Burks that can do both. I mean, Burks is a guy that can be your possession guy, can be your deep threat. Burks is an all over the place kind of guy. I mean, we know how special Burks is, but then you've got a guy like Davion Warren he can take the top off of defense. He's your deep threat, and then you've got a Mike Woods who's a great possession guy, runs just fabulous routes. And so Trey Knox has just kind of found himself buried as he just continues. From my understanding, he's not been very consistent in practice. He's not looked very good from that standpoint. So, it could be sophomore slump. Could be a guy that just doesn't feel he's fitting into the system right now. And those things are all understandable. I mean, but yeah, it's disappointing because Knox could be such a big piece. One thing that I was really excited to watch was seeing Hudson Henry split out a lot more. I thought Hudson got a lot of play. I thought this was one of those games. If you remember a few years ago when they were trying to get Hudson to commit, they went all in on a big tight end package and threw the tight end a whole lot in the game, and Hudson committed. And this had the feel of that game. Like it was like, okay, we're gonna really try to use Hudson as a mismatch on this A&M defense. And I thought he had some moments. I think that. Hudson's got a lot of growing to do. He's definitely not a Hunter Henry, but he's still got he's got plenty of time to get there. Josh Kicks says, even with Catalan, Mond had all day to throw. You can only keep guys recovered so long. With unlimited time, a guy getting open is inevitable. Josh, and that's where I was frustrated with the lack of any kind of adjustments by Odom. I really expected Odom to do some things differently, like maybe go to 4 down. We already knew that we had some issues with the linebacker, so let's figure out a way to get some pressure on Mon because Mon was just sitting back there. But the other issue, and I think this is something that as you continue to watch film study on Arkansas, and again, I'm not taking anything away from Bumper Pool and Grant Morgan, Grant Morgan. Those guys have been just absolutely incredible this season. Had another really big game yesterday, and I mean, I was really impressed. Sorry, I'm over here. Catch myself looking at the comments over here. But so I've been really impressed with the linebacker core and what they've done. But I think if you continue to watch film, those guys are just a step slower than you need to be. And while they're gritty, while they got all kinds of heart, I think that in film study you're going to find that that's an area that you can beat. And the middle of the field was wide open. And I think going back to the loss of Catalan, I think that's important because Catalan is a guy that's going to be an enforcer over the middle. He's going to make you not want to catch the ball over the middle. He's going to make you want to shy away from those hits. And unfortunately, with missing him because of that penalty, that was big too. But again, those were the two biggest disappointments that I had coming out of the game. The offense did way more than I anticipated. This is a really good A&M run defense. And so, I mean, to me, I thought that Arkansas did really good on the ground. I mean, Boyd over 100 yards. Felipe Franks had 91 yards. Let's see. I'm getting back over here to the stats. I mean, Arkansas ends up running for 222 yards. They were very, very efficient at 5.3 yards per carry. And I mean, Boyd was a big piece, and Boyd's kind of been missing. And I think we thought Boyd would have a decent game in this one. Let me get back over here and get some things out of my way. But looking at the stats, Boyd 18 carries for 100 yards and a touchdown. Franks with 16 carries for 91 yards. And I thought Traylon Smith, I thought that was something offensively I didn't understand. I thought they misused Traylon in this game. I think Traylon had some opportunities, and it seemed like every time Traylon got into a little bit of a rhythm, they shut him down, and I didn't like that. I didn't think they went to Burks enough with the run on offense, and a lot of that was just, I guess, time and game and situation. But I didn't understand the way they never seemed to let Traylon Smith kind of get things going. Only 5 carries for 30 yards, a long of 9. And so, I mean, it was a good day for the running game. It was a good day for the offense finally. We've been sitting here waiting for this offense to take off, and it seemed like the offense took off. And this is a good A&M defense. So I think we can definitely look at that and get some excitement. Chad Bishop says, was awesome to see Franks use his legs, still stays in the pocket. I don't know. I'm assuming you meant still stays in the pocket too long. And yeah, I agree. he's got to get rid of the ball. He's got to be ready to get the ball out a lot quicker. And I think there's just a lot of times where he spends too much time trying to make a decision, and it's just not there. And he takes, instead of just throwing the ball away and stopping the clock, he either takes a bad sack or he runs out of bounds and takes a 2 or 3 yard sack, and it's very frustrating. And I get it. Look, the guy's a competitor. He's trying to do everything he can to move the football. I have no problem with that. Where my issue lies is obviously you got to move the ball forward. You got to make a decision. As a quarterback, you got to make that decision quick. And if your receivers aren't getting open, and if you've got pressure, then you got to get out. And you got to throw the ball away or make something happen. And the thing is Franks is capable with his legs, but he's not. You got a guy like Malik Hornsby in the wings, a guy like Lucas Coley coming. Those are guys that will be really dangerous if they can get to the edges and move around. And so, Franks is dangerous enough. I mean, obviously 91 yards is a great game from a quarterback. I'd have to go back in the stat archives to see the last time Arkansas had a quarterback crack 100 yards. So, very impressive there. Tyler Callahan, one way or another, specialty. Oh man, I'm glad you brought that up. That's in my notes to talk about too. Some of the decision making that so the first field goal was a bad snap, or a bad exchange. All that went bad. Kick was awful, and the second kick was it was better executed. We just didn't make it. He pushed it, and then so. You think about it, we lose 42-31. One thing that I didn't understand, too, when we got to play calling is when Arkansas drove down and they were down 42-31, I didn't understand why we didn't kick the field goal there. It was 42-24. I don't understand why we didn't kick the field goal there. You would have made it 42-27. Then you score there. Sure, Arkansas probably still loses. A&M may play it a little differently to try to get down the field and score instead of just running the clock out. Special teams is just atrocious, and I don't know what Scott Fountain's doing. I think we were all really excited about Scott Fountain, and everything we heard about Scott Fountain was, man, this guy's going to be great. We're finally paying a special teams coordinator. And I don't think special teams has had a game where you could grade them a better than a C all year. I mean, the fact that we're talking about special teams each week is really frustrating. And I think Arkansas has got to. I mean, obviously you lose 6 points right there. You lose potentially 3 more by not kicking that field goal in that situation. And again, I get it. We're down 42-24, but either way, you still need 3 scores. So why not go ahead and get that one out of the way? You're in field goal range. From that, I think in that scenario, I'd have to go back and look at the stats here. Let me hop over here and see if I can find that on the play-by-play. Let's see. Let me get that last drive. I think because we went for it on 4th down. Franks tried to throw to Burks, and we turned the ball over on downs, and we were at the 28. So, 45-yard field goal is a little long. I didn't understand that. And then let's go. Of course, you missed the field goal right before the half, and I think that's what Tyler's talking about over here. Let me get this out of my way. Make those field goals and score the half 28-20. Yeah, exactly. And that's huge. I mean, again, maybe A&M plays it differently. Maybe they try to score another touchdown. Maybe it doesn't matter. But at the time, it was huge. I mean, you're right, Tyler. It was huge at the beginning. The fact that we didn't even try, or the fact that we missed those 2 field goals, and then to me, we didn't try the one in the 4th. Tommy Jablonski says, "Can't Franks come back next year?" Yes, Franks. So everybody can come back next year. Anybody who wants to come back next year can come back. It'll be interesting to see that decision. Andy and Tyler and I will cover that on the podcast as we go throughout the rest of the season, and we'll see what kind of grades Franks gets. I mean, I don't think this is a banner quarterback class. I know you got the kid from North Dakota State that's played 1 game that won't play another one before the draft. So he's already opted to go into the NFL draft and won't play for North Dakota State in the spring. Obviously you got Trevor Lawrence, who everybody assumes is going to come out. It'd be stupid not to. Just throw a fit and not go to the Jets. But other than that, I know there's some other guys that I'm not. Obviously you got Fields at Ohio State. You got a few other guys out there that could make some noise, but I just don't think it's a great year for quarterbacks and coming out in the draft. So Franks has probably got an opportunity. I think right now Franks could, be a late round guy that somebody will throw a flyer on him. He's got all the prototypical size and strength and skill. So, I mean, he's got the ability. He's just got to – I think it would do him wonders to come back and play in this offense for another year. But I also understand, too, when you start thinking about future depth and how this, number one, you don't want to lose your opportunity. If he's got an opportunity to be drafted, then go, and then number two, from purely from a coaching side, I mean, you got KJ Jefferson sitting there who, has waited his time, and I don't know what the future is with KJ. To be honest, I'm not overly impressed with KJ and what he brings to the table. He's a massive project, and hopefully Kendall's had some time to work with him. I'm more excited about a guy like Malik Hornsby, and I'm super excited about a guy like Lucas Coley, who's joined us on our podcast. Just a great kid and great speed. Finished up his high school season this week as well, and I'm really excited about that guy. So, Frank's coming back would be great for the offense. A nice stabilizing piece to keep the offense rocking and rolling. Next year, especially, you're going to be breaking in a new running back situation. I can't imagine Boyd would want to put too many miles on him to come back another year, especially as oft injured as he's been. But a guy like, Traylon Smith likely is back, and a few other guys. So, yeah, Frank's going to come back. And actually, Frank's could come back. Theoretically, Franks could come back for 2 seasons, but he would have to have the medical hardship applied for and granted to get another year. So, in theory, Franks could play at Arkansas for 3 seasons. I think it's more likely he's only here for 1, with maybe 20% chance he comes back next year at this point. And maybe it's higher than that. I mean, and maybe if he does well the rest of the season. So, William Watkins, I do think Catalon would have helped a lot with those middle field receivers being open, and I do too. I think at least you would have thought about it a couple times because you would have taken a shot or two there. I know Miles Mason came up and tried to make a few hits. It's just not the same guy, man. It's not the same situation, not the same player, and so I agree. Missing Catalon there was big. Let me hop back over here to some more of these stats just to kind of go over a few more things. So, get into the receiving numbers. Treylon Burks, 7 catches, 117 yards. But, we were talking about Trey Knox a minute ago. It's becoming painfully obvious that Arkansas just doesn't have a whole lot for as well as we were told Arkansas had recruited at the wide receiver position. It's becoming very obvious that Arkansas just don't have a lot of pass catchers that they can rely on. Now, again, the offensive line is still an issue. It's still struggling. I don't know if anyone caught the SEC Nation All Access with Pittman Saturday morning before the games kicked off. But I thought it was really interesting watching Pittman interact with the offensive line and basically tell them, look, you could be a great offensive line if you want to be. It's up to you. We can't make you be great. You got to do what we tell you. You got to execute, and you'll be great. And so I still think there's some strength issues on the offensive line, and that's just something that's not going to that's going to be fixed by another year in the system. I mean, there's nothing we can do about it. But I thought, again, from a physicality standpoint, when you look at what A&M does, I thought the offensive line did okay. I thought they played fairly well. Let's see. I think in total, A&M got 4 sacks. To the other point, on the flip side of that, Arkansas couldn't muster a sack at all. 4 sacks for that A&M defense, and so 7 tackles for loss. They also hurried Franks twice, so those were big. William Watkins, if Franks comes back, KJ transfers. I think KJ transfers either way. I don't think it matters. I think the fact that a couple of things are very important to watch with KJ right now. I've not been able to really pay a whole lot of attention to him on the sidelines, but obviously he had his one opportunity in that weirdly called play on the first game of the season where he came out and they ran that. And obviously Arkansas, this is not a season where Arkansas is going to have a lot of opportunity to throw, second and third teamers in there. And again, maybe it was a matchup situation, but I found it interesting that the next time they went to that goal line type package that they went with Hornsby. Now again, matchup, speed, we don't, KJ Jefferson's going to run folks over, and Hornsby's going to run around folks. It's just 2 different guys. But yeah, I think everything that I heard about Hornsby in what workouts they did get this summer and fall sounded really good. So I don't think, when you look at this quarterback room, if Frank stays, I think Hornsby's the future with Coley, being a guy that's got to be talked about when Hornsby moves on, and to push Hornsby. KJ just seems to me to be that guy that, I just got done watching the Bears-Saints game. He seems to be, and obviously Taysom Hill is a smaller guy, but he seems to be a guy that fits that mold. He's not going to throw a lot. You don't want to put him in that situation. Let him be a downhill runner, get your extra blocker, and just hope that works out. So, yeah, I don't think KJ hangs around. Tyler says, imagine our talent on offense with a better offensive line. It's scary to think about how good this team can be, and you say that, and the one thing that I can look at and go, okay, that's one position that I'm not worried about in a year or two. Like, I think Kendall Briles will recruit well. I think the jury is still out on Kendall Briles, but I think this week helped a lot. I think Barry Odom, hey, maybe this is the game. Maybe this game gets looked at and is the game that people are like, hey, wait a minute, we were a little too high on Barry Odom. Let's not offer him a bunch of money to be a head coach. Let's leave him at Arkansas. Maybe we look at it from that perspective. And don't get me wrong, y'all are gonna kill me in comments potentially. I don't mean that to say that Odom's doing a bad job. I think Odom obviously is doing a phenomenal job. I just think that hopefully this is maybe a shining glimmer of hope out of this game is that some people were like, well, he's a little, I guess, lackadaisical, maybe that's the wrong word, but comfortable with that rush 3, drop 8 type zone, and so maybe it cools the Jets on this Odom love affair from outside of the state of Arkansas. I think we've got a special piece. I think it's the guy that needs to get paid. Frank seems to thrive in that hurry-up offense. And I think we're going to really, really be happy once we see that offense get going into that rhythm that they want to go with. I promise that's not Corona. Whew, I'm going to need water. Yeah, all right, that's better. But yeah, I think Franks does do extremely well in the hurry-up offense. I thought when Arkansas got rhythm going, they looked really good. And it was the same thing, what was it, the Auburn game? Another pretty decent defense and who made LSU just look silly this weekend. And so, I don't, but against Auburn, against that defense, Arkansas was able to move right down the field on them with, I think, 5 consecutive possessions until they went with the silly goal line play. So, I think that I said this after the Auburn game that I thought that Briles was finding his rhythm offensively with Arkansas. He was finally getting that opportunity because, remember, they didn't get to spend a lot of time with these guys in the fall, none in the summer, none in the spring. And so when you start looking at this team, you use those times to build this team and to build the depth and to build, for the future and really to understand what your team can do. And they didn't have that. And here's the other thing, really important thing to remember. Not only did they not really have a fall, but what fall they had, even when they had players out there, they were limited because they were limited on the players because of COVID. They had so many guys testing positive or because of contact tracing having to sit. And so, when you look at what's happened so far this season, they've taken the Hammonds reverses out of the equation, thank goodness. They tried the reverse pass again with Treylon this week. It was once again a disaster. Thankfully, it wasn't a turnover. And so, yeah, I think that as Briles continues to come along and continues to really learn his personnel and what they can do, yeah, we're going to see this offense continue to speed up. I don't know that we'll see it at the pace that Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin wants to move, but I think we're going to see something pretty similar where this offense really, really wants to get going. And yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun when they can. Grayson Reeser, can't wait to see this staff get some depth. Feels good watching the Hogs knowing we stand a chance. I know it. That's the big piece. Like, you're right, man. That's the coolest and most exciting part is actually being able to watch and feel like Arkansas's got a chance to win. Every week coming into the game and we feel good. And, y'all got to listen to High on the Hogs, HAWGS. You guys make sure that you go, if you get, whether it's Spotify, whether it's Apple, whether it's Google, whatever. There's a million of them out there. I think we're on most of them. So Make sure you search High on the Hogs, HAWGS. We appreciate everybody. We've had phenomenal downloads on those podcasts. It's a lot of fun. Shameless plug, if you're a business owner and you're looking for a medium to do some broadcast or to do some advertising, give us a shout, man. We've got our numbers have been really, really good on the podcast. Andy and I, we do 2 podcasts a week. Obviously, we drop podcast 1 on Tuesdays. That's kind of our reaction podcast. So it's this, but a little more fun, a little more exciting with Andy and I. And then on Fridays, sometimes Thursdays, Tyler Davis are on staff with us. Tyler is formerly of hogsports.com, worked with guys like Trey Biddy and Danny West, and has now jumped over here and is helping us out. And him and I do a preview podcast that drops every Friday, and we preview the upcoming Razorback game as well as the SEC schedule. So make sure you guys search and like and subscribe to those podcasts, and give us a listen, man. It's, hey, everybody's kind of back to work, I guess. Everybody's driving around doing things, so you're in your car. I think we're a little more entertaining than 103.7 The Buzz is sometimes. So give us a shot when you're driving around. High on the Hogs, HAWGS. Again, those drop on Tuesdays and Fridays, so go over and subscribe so you don't miss us. And but yeah, we were talking about this, and we had a couple debates on the show, on the podcast. Tyler and I did on Friday, and one thing that I brought up is Arkansas. Is Arkansas not getting the respect they deserve, or fans just a little over, or fans just overconfident? And I think fans got to the point where we were overconfident. I think, and as a fan, I'm that way too. Like, heck, I went all week last week like, I don't think Arkansas can beat A&M, and then when it came down to make a picked Arkansas. Now not on a bet, because I don't do that. I don't put money on the Hogs. Although this year's been a good year, 5-0 against the spread. You want to make some money. It seems like Eric Musselman was a guy that. The reason I even knew who Eric Musselman was before Arkansas hired him was for about 2.5 years. I followed him at Nevada and won a couple bucks. Let's just say that. He was a guarantee. And so I loved watching Muss. I loved watching his system. And hey, we're going to have some fun on some of those shows as we get into basketball season. But with, and so from the Razorback perspective, it's exciting to know we're winning, and we're winning against the spread for sure. 2-3 on the season should be what? Yeah. Anyway, not going to get into that. Should be 3-2. But it does feel good. Grayson's right, man. It feels great watching the Hogs, knowing we stand a chance to win. You're going to watch until the fourth quarter because it's going to be exciting. So, man, y'all get some more comments in there. I'm running out of things to talk about. I'm going to have to hop off here. If y'all don't throw me some more comments, share this, get your folks in here. I've not even gotten an expletive yet tonight. So, I'm actually happy to see the very confident Razorback fans are taking this loss in stride. To be completely honest, I stayed off of Twitter on Saturday night. Just because I was afraid of what I might come across with some of the Razorback fans out in Razorback Twitter, and so I didn't do a whole lot over there. But give me a follow over there at Steve_NSS. I feel like we got some good content that comes out over there as well. For those of you who have joined us and started watching us for our Natural State Sports high school football games of the week, we do apologize. Last week we did not have a game, and a lot of that was some uncertainty on connectivity issues at a couple of stadiums we'd had an opportunity to go to, and so we wanted to make sure that we could that we'd be able to bring a good broadcast. We couldn't this week. Thursday and Friday, big high school nights. We're hoping to have some more action for you this week, so stay tuned for that. And Tommy Jablonski jumps back in there. What do you think about the Tennessee game? I don't want to give away too much because I want you guys to listen to the podcast on Friday when it drops, and I give my official pick and my official thoughts. But as of right now, I feel good. Tennessee, look, before the season started, I was watching. Let's go back to last year. Tennessee impressed me to a point. Now, it was almost fool's gold. They were beating nobody. But I did think this was a top 25 Tennessee team, so that I might need to get kicked in the head for that thought. But I think Arkansas is a better team right now. Nothing against Jeremy Pruitt. I think Jeremy Pruitt's an okay coach. But Tennessee's got some stuff going on over there, man. I think they fired a line coach in the middle of a game. Tyler Davis of our staff made the point that back Georgia broke them, and I think he's right. Tennessee, the Kentucky game was awful. They've just gotten absolutely just annihilated, and so yeah, I like Arkansas's chances this week. You'll have to wait and wait for my pick. But I do. I really like I like Arkansas's chances against Tennessee this week. Matchup predictor on ESPN likes Arkansas against Tennessee 53%. Tennessee somehow opens I think they actually opened as around a 3-point favorite. That's already been bet down to a 1.5-point favorite. And so that's surprising to me. Arkansas at home not getting any more love, although home field advantage is a little overplayed this year. So we'll see. But Arkansas is better offensively. Arkansas is better defensively than Tennessee. I think Arkansas has got a great opportunity to go out and continue Tennessee's 3-game losing streak on to 4. And you look, they've scored 21, 7, and 17. They've just not played well in their last 3. Now, that's not taking anything away. They've played the number 2 and number 3 teams in the country 2 of those 3 weeks. And so, in the last time they played somebody more on their level was when they played Mizzou, and they beat Mizzou handily, took care of South Carolina in week 1. And so, I don't know. I think it's going to be a hard-fought game. Arkansas is going to have to be a very physical football team. But for once, kind of like the comment earlier in talking about from Grayson, talking about the Hogs, watching the Hogs know we have a stand a chance. I now know Arkansas is going to go into every single game and be able to be just as physical as the other team and not give up. Think about this. A&M was extremely physical. A&M knocked Arkansas in the mouth a few times. Arkansas would have lost that game 52-3 any other year. Maybe 52-17, But Arkansas was much better this week, and Arkansas played better, and so I think they did very, very well. Tyler says, my only gripe would be disgruntled Razorback fans on Twitter. When I saw that, I was laughing. That's why I said I stayed away from Twitter this week. There's a few guys that I really like and I really like following, and then they go off the deep end with some crazy stuff. So had to stay away just to keep my sanity. And so, yeah. Let's see. I'll say this. The thing I love the most about our boys this year, you saying Georgia broke Tennessee reminded me. In the heart and drive they play with now, they never quit. Couldn't say that the past few years. And you're right. That was my point, Josh. Josh Kicks makes a great point there. This team doesn't quit. They don't give up. That's this team, and it's awesome to see. I love watching this team compete. You see they're playing for each other. They're playing for the coaches. This isn't a team that's just give out and give up. And again, A&M would have beat the brakes off of this Arkansas team last year. So impressed with what Sam Pittman's been able to do. All right, guys. I'm going to say thanks, everybody, for joining us. Thanks to Harris Made Chef Services for bringing the show to you tonight. And, guys, let us know. We're trying to come up with some new show schedules. We're really excited about what's coming up. I know I've lost a bunch of you so far, but anybody watching this, throw it down in the comments. We're going to be moving really, really soon into our Heart of Grace Outdoor Studios. This is a little bit of a surprise announcement for many. And we're going to be out of my bedroom, not my bedroom, but my media / toy / whatever this room is, recording studio, whatever you want to call it. And we'll be out of here and moved into our Heart of Grace Outdoor Studios. And so I'm really excited about that. Should be happening soon. So we're looking at some ideas for different shows. Obviously we're spread pretty thin right now with what we got going between football, hoping to get into some basketball streaming as well. But look forward to some fun stuff from us as we start to add to our show lineup and bring you some more stuff. I know that Tyler and Will are working on some things that I think you guys are going to be really excited about. And so stick with us. Make sure you make sure you like Natural State Sports. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. And again, I really appreciate everyone joining us this week. And man, I'm looking forward to next week. I'm looking forward to this Tennessee game. Again, thanks to Harris Made Chef Services for bringing this show to you tonight. And make sure you guys listen to High on the Hogs, HAWGS, our High on the Hogs podcast, Tuesday, Reaction Pod. A lot of this, but with Andy and I, chopping it up. Join us Tuesday when that pod drops. And then join Tyler Davis and I on Friday when our preview of the Tennessee game pod drops. And until then, Whoopee.